Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin our presentation, we'd like to, our group, and I hope that the rest of the groups would like to take this time in love and memory of our beloved teacher, Dr. Tiki Suarez Brown. And we'd like to take this time for a minute of silence, please, before we begin our presentations. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Good evening. We're Group 1. I'm John Fairley, one-year MBA student from Tallahassee, Florida.
I'm Lucy Diala, a one-year MBA student from Nigeria.
Hello everyone, good evening. I am LaQuisha Dunham, a one-year MBA student from Miami, Florida.
Good evening everyone, I am Mike Todd, a one-year MBA student from Titusville, Florida.
Greetings, I'm Casey Burns, a fifth-year MBA student from Chicago, Illinois.
Good evening, I am James Medora Jr., first-year student from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands.
Greetings, I'm Tamara D. Timmons from Lake City, Florida, one-year MBA camp.
Can you both introduce yourselves again? I didn't catch it. Yes, sir. Yeah. The guy who signed it. You too.
Well, hello everyone, I am Mike Todd, a one-year MBA candidate from Titusville, Florida.
Greetings, I'm Casey Burns, a fifth-year professional MBA student from Chicago, Illinois.
Okay, this evening we'll be dealing with the enhancement of the accounting department's current infrastructure. And as you see, the roles of our group members. Okay, the system development life cycle. What is the SDLC? It is basically a common system development that is used by many organizations. And there are several phases in this cycle that helps the progress and analysis of the design system. The benefits that go along with the SDLC, it will allow the organization to understand its needs and wants. It will help to ensure that the needs and wants of the organization is met. And it is a standardized process, and each stage has specific outcomes that are required for the phases, and the project of the system is measurable, meaning there are tools that are put in place to track the progress and the process of the system. And for example, you can have your Gantt and your PERT chart. In the outline of our presentation, we will deal with the project identification and selection, the initiation, planning, analysis, and design, and the project content through the project overview down to the backup system. And here is just a little graph to show the process of the system development lifecycle, which begins with the project identification and selection, the project initiation and planning, analysis, design, implementation, and maintenance. Okay, the 4 different phases of the SDLC begins with the project identification and selection. And in this phase, the organization identifies the needs and wants, and it goes through the process of selecting what can best be used. In this case, the requirements for CPA for students. And the next phase is project initiation and planning. In this phase, a request proposal is made, and once it's approved, you will go through the analyzing, prioritizing, and arrangement, and setting a schedule for the development of the new system. In the analysis phase, you're studying the structure and the system requirements. And then for the design phase, it's a description of the recommended solution that is converted into logical and physical system specifications. And this can be done by creating a working model. And in some cases, the working model becomes the actual system used for the organization.
Now I'll talk about the project identification and selection stage. In this stage, we were kind of had a discussion of issues and the needs of SBI in order to determine what kind of system we were going to implement. So in order to do this as a class, we decided we all came up with different project topics, kind of the needs of SBI as to what we wanted to do. And of course, in the end, it ended up being chosen that we wanted to do the CPA certification requirement topic. So that's what we did, and we selected that project, and from there we selected our client, who ended up being Dr. Aretha Hill. And then talking to her, we wanted to come up with kind of review the capabilities and resources. So we looked at the current processes of SBI, and the system for the CPA requirements. And we found out that SBI did not have a system in place currently for determining the requirements needed for CPA certification. So in this project, we came up with ideas as to the proposed system and how we would implement it, and kind of what would be in the system, how it would look, and talking to Dr. Hill, we came up with the desired functional requirements of the system. So we went to see how the system will operate, kind of what it would look like, and stuff of that nature, since they do not currently have a system in place. And for the project initiation and planning stage, we interviewed Dr. Hill to see what the specific problems that the accounting department were facing were, and the reasons why we should actually tackle this project as a class. And from that, we came up with a problem as to what the accounting department was facing, which was a lack of cohesion among teachers to facilitate information to students in regards to their CPA certification, because the students really didn't know what they had to do, the kind of courses they needed, and the hours they needed to become CPA certified. And from there, we developed a baseline plan with specific times and resources needed in order to accomplish this goal. And then we did an analysis. So we looked at the needs of SBI, looked at the needs of an existing system, which there was no system. So basically, we had to do this coming from scratch, since SBI does not currently have a system in place to do the things they need to do with the CPA requirements. And for the collection tools we used in determining the system requirements were interviewing and listening. So we had a session with Dr. Hill where we all got to ask Dr. Hill questions regarding the CPA requirements and kind of what was in place. And she told us everything that she knew. It was a semi-structured interview where we all, as groups, went around and asked our questions that we wanted to know about the systems in order to determine what kind of system we would come up with to help her with her needs in the accounting department. And here was a sample of kind of the interview questions and the answers we asked during our interview. It's just a general snapshot of kind of what the questions look like and what the answers look like after we talked to Dr. Hill. And after talking with Dr. Hill, we found out that she was mostly concerned with how the students would obtain information to becoming CPA certified, because that was something that the students were really struggling with, and she really wanted the system to be put in place in order to figure out how the students can become CPA certified. So the majority of the questions were dealing with the hours needed for the certification and the different courses you needed to sit for the exam. So after that, she also wanted the training to be very user-friendly and to have a self-help button, so it'd be easy to navigate through the system so the students can figure out anything they needed to learn regarding the CPA certification. And Dr. Hill pointed out to us when we talked to her that there were only 5 teachers that had extensive knowledge of the requirements needed to become CPA certified. So whenever a student had a question, they would have to seek out these teachers to ask them questions regarding the information or look it up on their own. So that's why she wanted the system put in place so the students wouldn't have to always do that. They would have the information at their own disposal.
Okay, having interviewed the client and heard all the things the client requires for us to get get an automated system for CPA certification of students, we moved on to the design phase. In the design phase, there are basically 2 areas that are required, which is the logical design system, which is not really a physical system, as well as a physical system. So looking at those, we came up with doing a little more analysis to, in order to proceed to actually getting the project on the way. What we did was we came up with what is required within the system. Of course, if you see in the center of our diagram, we have showed you the stakeholders for the system, which are basically the users. At the very bottom, you see where it has students. Then we have the EIT staff. As Casey said, there was no existing system. There's no automated system for what currently exists. So we realized that we would need some EIT staff in order to get this, in order to get the system automated. Then we have like the accounting faculty as well as the advisors. In this process, there's the input and the output. The input system is where information is coming from the CPA board, trying to find out what's new, updating the system, and all of the stakeholders have, they would have to go in and access whatever is the input. The output would be the results that come out of using the system. So having put that together, in order to proceed forward with getting the design underway, we had to go back and make sure we had a project overview, which is basically finding out, what the current system is, what who the system will serve. As we know, it will be the students and maybe possibly students who've already exited from the program and who would be using the system. The project objectives were also very important in getting our system on the way. Part of the project objective is to assist the accounting department who primarily right now they have the burden on their shoulders to guide a student through getting CPA certification. But through getting this system together, we would have an automated system where, the accounting faculty is able to have a database where they can guide students without having to be physically present all the time. And students will have an area where they can also, maybe from their homes or based on the accounting system that we're creating, be able to get information for certification.
In terms of objectives for the system, we wanted to make sure that we had a portal that standardized the process for students obtaining information related to CPA eligibility. We also wanted to make sure that we had a module where accountant advisors could make appointments via the web. Additionally, we want to set up a manual for students that detail the advisement process. And last but not least, we wanted to have a communication module that included email and common internet-based messaging systems such as Trillium and Skype. In terms of benefits, we wanted to make sure that the system helped the accounting department better meet the needs of current and future students. We also want to make sure that the curriculum that the students had would show them what the right classes were to sit for the CPA test. Also, we wanted to make sure that the communication between the administration and the students were as good as it could be. And we wanted to increase efficiency, effectiveness of the accounting department and have the system act as a showcase for current and future students. In terms of feasibility, we wanted to make sure that the system met certain criteria. These are some of the different analysis that we did. As you can see, one thing that we realized on the economic front was that the system would require initial startup costs, which was a negative. On the technical side, we found out that they would have internal controls for security, which was a positive. Operationally, we felt that it would provide better documentation and collaboration for the students and faculty. And when it comes to legal and contractual matters, we may require for software licenses, which was negative. Last but not least, we want to make sure that each one of these stakeholders were involved in the process. As you can see, the accounting faculty, the academic advisors, students, EIT staff, and alumni all inputted information to make sure that we met our goal.
Moving forward with the backup system, basically is creating a partnership with the existing university that has a similar system. They're going to use the boilerplate system, which is basically like a system that's taken from the primary data that we already have here at FAMU, and we're going to use it to a certain extent that it could copy certain things from that plate to where it would be feasible for the SBI or any school that's in needed for the system to be utilized here in the building. It will also be for existing EIT resources to share resources and provide training and documents for stakeholders to facilitate the effective use of the system. The feasibility study, which the economic analysis, the major benefits would be the decreased time to update the current system with more automation, less paper. We're trying to be paper-free, green, more storage, and remote advisement, which is now possible. The major costs would be scanners, Adobe, time, training, and which is like the most costly. The political analysis is basically the advisors. The advisors will be able to have open technology to assess the students with enrolling and making sure they're using the system or going through the process as well. And with the EIT, It's basically to open and make systems more friendlier as possible. So which we're going to be working hand in hand with the EIT, making sure that we are on track and making sure that everything is working fine. Okay, now we're going to do a demo for running a CPA certification progress report. How many accounting majors do we have in here? Okay, so I want y'all to pay a little attention to see what's going on. Basically, everybody should be familiar with the FAMU.edu system. I know sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work, but we all know how to do it. We go on FAMU.edu, log on to your iRattler account. Once you log on into your iRattler account, you know the next page that pops up basically is your user ID. John.doe, Mary.jane, however you choose to use it, along with your password. Once you put in your password, you'll hit sign in.
And this is mainly for the teachers' use. Once they're in the system, they'll click view advisees information, and from this point it'll pull up a roster of the students that are accounting majors, of course. And then at the bottom right hand, just click degree progress and click go. And this will take them to the report types page. For our project, we got a CPA progress report, but Dr. Hill said she would also like other certifications to be put in there as the system progresses. And then once they click go, they'll automatically show the student's transcript and what is required for each course, and if they met those requirements, and if they haven't. If they haven't, then a big red requirements not satisfied will appear on the student's transcript. And obviously you can do more from the reports page. You can run a what if scenario. Basically this is insinuating like, if the student wants to take a different class, how would it alter their path as they matriculate through the program? It's the same what if. And then at the end, the teacher will obviously save it to a network drive. This will help consistency in case the student doesn't have the same teacher that's advising them. And basically they'll just create a folder and they'll save the transcript so students don't have to bring the transcripts back every time they see the advisor. And that completes the tutorial demonstration. We'll talk about the components for the online.
So given this information that we have, the software that we are recommending, as James mentioned earlier, is called the Trillion system. Basically, just to give you a little bit of background on the system, it's a multi-protocol instant messaging application that provides support for most major computers, of course, that we use, Windows, Mac, and whatnot. And then also they have, the good thing about this system is it can connect to the three most components that we use for messaging: email, your social media sites, and then lastly, of course, just your regular instant messaging systems with Yahoo Messenger and the like. And here more recently, in 2009, they developed the software for the phone application, starting with iPhone, and then a year later with the Android systems and BlackBerry. So with this online communication tool, of course, it just requires for a simple download, and it's a free download. And of course, it's compatible with all the systems that I mentioned earlier. And then of course, from there, students would, we would create a name, of course, and we use this as an example. The students can then connect with their, to get information from the respective sources. So from there, they also have the audio and video messaging files and just the basic chat functions that you can use to communicate with the students. And of course, lastly, of course, we will encourage the students to use this for emergency type questions. This screen basically just kind of sort of gives some of the basic features, or the basic features that the program allows for. Of course, you have your basic messaging, file transferring, audio chat, and so on and so forth. One of the most important ones that they talked about was being able to use the mobile app, and that's one of the biggest things that they're really satisfied along with the software now. Then we also pulled out this screen just to show you a little bit about how the screen can kind of interface. And most people who use these types of messaging systems, you can see at the top where you can have multiple conversations going in the midst of in the one chat screen, and of course you have the option of the video, you can control the audio, and then of course sending files to and from whatever source needs to receive the information. And for you emotional ones, they have about 300 emoticons. And then of course, lastly, they talked about the audio and video features, where you have, of course, as you can see here, the 2 pictures for who to communicate with whoever you're talking with. And that's pretty basic and straightforward. And then of course, file sharing. They have like for instance, they gave this example where they were giving a definition of a particular word, and they were able to send that just through a basic file transfer, where they can click on the link to, so they will see what the definition is. So we thank you for your time, and we appreciate your attention. So are there any questions?